हाँ, बिकॉज आई थिंक हमारे सेटअप में बहुत बार वैसा होता है कि स्पेशली फैमिली की अगर बात करें, वी डू अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स फॉर आवर फैमिली, राइट? बट हम कभी अपने आप को ऐसे रोल में डिफाइन नहीं करते दैट वी आर एक्चुअली केयर गिवर्स. इट्स मोर लाइक हाँ, मतलब हम माँ है या हम हस्बैंड है, वाइफ है, या किड्स हैं या सिबलिंग्स हैं.
Definitely say that there is this one point in your life where you will realize that, oh, I'm responsible for someone's well-being. I think that's the time you realize that you are their caregiver. Most caregivers don't know when will the role end and what would life look like after that. Most of them will ask me कि हमारा ठीक है, आप बताओ उनके लिए क्या कर सकते हैं. So give us some strategies, give us some approaches that we have to use. Tell us how to communicate, how not to communicate. So it's first always, initially it's always that individual focused or patient focused, and then gradually it becomes, we sort of again bring in the whole caregiver angle as well. A lot of them feel dissatisfied due to these changes in their sleep, nutrition, routine, priorities and various aspects in their life. They do feel dissatisfied, but they don't know what to do about it. Asking the caregiver, how are you doing? That itself is we are giving them that opportunity to put forth their point of view, to put forth their narrative. Think about the way you are there for that person. Who is there for you? First, just think about that. And it's not a question that you can just answer instantly. So take your time. Just sit with this question first for some time. Identify who is there for you. उससे आपको मालूम पड़ेगा कि आपका सपोर्ट सिस्टम कौन है.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Happier Hour. Today we have with us Shreya Jaukar. She has completed her Masters in Developmental Psychology from King's College London in 2020. Over the past few years, she has worked closely with children, adults and their families across clinical setups, school and community-based settings. A large part of her work involves partnering with caregivers, whether it's parents, teachers or family members. She runs an independent psychology practice, Happiness Compass, where she focuses on building emotional regulation, strengthening interpersonal relationships, and helping families navigate through life transitions like parenthood or illnesses. She believes that when caregivers feel seen, heard, and supported, the ripple effect on the individual's well-being is powerful. Welcome to the show, Shreya.
Hello, thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. And today we are going to talk about caregivers' burden, and a lot of your work is around that.
Yes.
So before we start our conversation, I would actually like to know more about why you chose to do your all your base your career around caregivers and caregivers burden.
I think this is a question I get asked quite often when I tell people about the work I do. There were two experiences which led me to this decision. One was when I was studying in London. One of my professors told us this, that the child is like an outcome of various factors, various environmental factors. So now one of the factors could be its family. One of them could be schooling. It could also be healthcare providers. So there are many, many factors because of which the child is behaving like the way they do, or they have a particular mindset. So that particular professor, they used to always tell us that when you're working with the child, if you have any opportunities to also tap into the child's ecosystem, mainly family and schooling structures, you may find many more areas that you can work on. So that was one thing. Now, I don't know if these were the professor's words or they have heard it from somewhere and they shared it with us, but this sort of, it led to a very impactful, it sort of impacted me in many ways, that this entire conversation. Second thing is, I have been a caregiver many a times in my life. So I think that was my personal experience as well. And as a caregiver, I always felt that I am also equally going through something. Back then, I was not able to put a name to what I was going through, but I knew that something is happening. कुछ तो हो रहा है. मुझे भी ढेर सारे emotions और feelings आ रहे हैं, but I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to. So I think both these experiences sort of led me to choose to work more around caregivers.
Interesting. I mean, especially, coming from your own personal experience as well. And again, you taking that path of your education and now professionally pursuing that's quite something.
Like in my personal experiences, when there were so many times when I myself felt that I don't know who to talk to. Or there were times where I was feeling, am I doing enough? Or I used to also feel guilty for asking for some time for myself. So that led me realize that, okay, this is something we can explore more, maybe in the professional sphere. Then obviously my qualification in developmental psychology gave me those avenues and opportunities, I would say.
And when did you realize that you were actually a caregiver in your setup? Because from your own personal experience, when you say you have been in this role for a lot many times, right? So when did you realize that, okay, actually I am a caregiver in this entire situation?
So one of my family member was undergoing a major health issue. Because of that, we used to always have so many visits to nearby clinics and hospitals and diagnostic centers. I think they had become a part of my routine as well. So I think maybe in my teenage years, I realized that I am also a caregiver to that particular person. Doctors used to even ask me questions about that person, or people like our family, friends and everyone would also ask me questions about that person's health and recovery. That sort of made me realize that, yeah, even I am a caregiver and I am also going through something. So I also need a little help. So, yeah.
हाँ, बिकॉज आई थिंक हमारे सेटअप में बहुत बार वैसा होता है कि स्पेशली फैमिली की अगर बात करें, वी डू अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स फॉर आवर फैमिली, राइट? बट हम कभी अपने आप को ऐसे रोल में डिफाइन नहीं करते दैट वी आर एक्चुअली केयर गिवर्स. इट्स मोर लाइक, हाँ, मतलब हम माँ है या हम हस्बैंड है, वाइफ है, या किड्स हैं या सिबलिंग्स हैं. And we just keep doing that thing, thinking.
Like, sometimes it comes out of that feeling of duty. Sometimes it comes out of the feeling of love and care. But it's much more than these things. We also have to keep, so many times we've kept our priorities aside to become someone's caregiver. So,
so at what stage, a person would know that they are actually a caregiver in the family? And it's not like a normal role that they're playing. It's more of a caregiver.
It's very difficult to define at what stage, because everyone has a different journey. People's the age or the path in their life where they became a caregiver can also differ. So it's difficult to say at what stage, but I would definitely say that there is this one point in your life where you will realize that, oh, I'm responsible for someone's well-being. I think that's the time you realize that you are their caregiver. So it's that feeling or that realization maybe that you have.
And, in your work, in your experience, what are the most common challenges that you have seen with caregivers?
I think the common challenges is most of them tell me that there's a sudden change in their routines and their identity. Most caregiver, this is a very, very significant challenge they themselves experience. One more thing is feeling that they are not doing enough. What more can I do? So that thought keeps coming again and again. Then also the lack of time for themselves and their own priorities that they might have set for themselves. So उसके वजह से कभी कभी compassion fatigue हो सकता है, caregiver burnout भी हो सकता है. So these are the common challenges that caregivers often share with me. One more thing is typically caregivers of very, very elderly people or caregivers of very, very young children, they also report fatigue because they are tired of taking decisions all the time. And this I see typically when it comes to, say, pediatric patients. Parents and family members have to take medical decisions for them. So most of them come to us that they are tired of taking decisions, and how can we help them? So that decision fatigue is also there. One more challenge is caregivers usually ask is, what will happen after us? Who will take care of that individual after us? Is a very common question that we keep hearing all the time. So these are the kind of worries that usually come from caregivers.
So it's like someone is actually dependent on you all the time.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of feeling you get when you are,
Yes.
a caregiver,
Yeah.
that you just have to take care of this person in every aspect,
Yes.
in a way,
Yes.
and you are the one responsible for it.
True. And there is one more thing that they feel that what if even after everything that I'm doing, what if things don't go well in the future? So that worry is always there. So these are the common concerns we hear from caregivers, I would say.
और मतलब सुनने में वैसा लग रहा है कि मतलब it is a tough role. It's not something easy because you are responsible. You will be questioned for everything. And maybe बहुत बार तो वैसा भी होता है कि there's no end to this role.
Yes.
Right?
We don't know. The caregivers, most caregivers don't know when will the role end and what would life look like after that. So that is also a very tough question to navigate through, I feel.
And जैसे आपने बात करी compassion fatigue की. So what exactly is that?
So this is something we observe in people who've been caregivers for a very, very long time, who have held that space, given that support to their to the particular individual, and then there comes a point where the caregiver also realizes that even their resources right now are depleting. There is only so much that they can do. So typical signs are irritability, lack of interest, tired of decision making all the time, getting triggered due to small situations that arise. Like earlier, they were not triggers to you, but now they have happened. Avoiding certain conversations, avoiding certain places, which sort of take you back to certain memories. So these are very common signs of compassion fatigue. Also, sometimes due to compassion fatigue, even the relationship between the caregiver and the individual, there's a strain on that relationship as well. So you may see that there is increase, say, in the arguments that are happening, in the difference of opinion that are happening. Like ये चीजें पहले भी होती है, but in the case of compassion fatigue, these things start affecting you more deeply, and you find it very, very challenging to respond to such situations.
मैंने एक बार आई थिंक इट वाज अ शॉर्ट मूवी, उसका नाम शायद चम्मच है. उसमें बहुत ही अच्छी स्टोरी है. उसमें ना क्या होता है कि एक ओल्ड पर्सन दिखाए हैं, एंड आई थिंक ही इज गोइंग थ्रू सम इलनेस बिकॉज ऑफ विच ही कैन नॉट मूव एट ऑल. तो वेन एवर ही हैड टू कॉल, आई डोंट नो, और मतलब उसमें कोई भी डायलॉग नहीं है उस मूवी में. उसमें फिर एक देयर इज अ लेडी, मिड एज्ड वुमन, एंड मे बी डॉटर और बहू, आई डोंट नो. सो उनको जब भी कुछ चाहिए होता है ना ओल्ड पर्सन को, सो वो उनके पास कप रखा होता है और वो चम्मच से टक 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 करते हैं, एंड दैट्स अ सिग्नल फॉर द लेडी टू कम एंड टेंड टू द नीड्स वट एवर इट माइट बी. तो उसमें दिखाते हैं कि वो भाग रही होती है बिल्कुल ही, मतलब जब भी चम्मच बजी, वो अगर खुद भी चाय भी पी रही है तो वो सब छोड़ छाड़ के आएगी, बिकॉज शी हैज टू टेक केयर ऑफ द पर्सन. एंड in the end she gets so fed up, matlab ki she actually ends up killing the person. Of course it was cinema, it has been shown
yeah,
in a you know in that way, but yeah, I think you know उसमें काफी अच्छे तरीके से दिखाया था उन्होंने कि how can burden look like.
एंड जो आपने बोला ना, छोड़ छाट सब छोड़ छाट के यू नीड टू बी अवेलेबल फॉर दैट
Correct.
पर्सन, दैट ऑल्सो a lot of caregivers will share during counseling sessions that they had to keep many things aside. They had to maybe delay certain things in their life so that they could be emotionally emotionally available for the person or for their loved one, I would say. So that chhod chhad ke,
Exactly.
that is a metaphor that we so often hear in therapy.
एंड मतलब जब इसके बारे में बात भी कर रहे हैं तो ऑफ कोर्स अगर आप एक इंसान के लिए आप रिस्पॉन्सिबल हैं, आई डोंट नो हाउ यू कैन गो फॉर करियर, बिकॉज अगर आपकी मीटिंग्स हैं या कुछ भी आप नहीं जा सकते, यू जस्ट हैव टू टेक केयर ऑफ यू नो दैट पर्सन. और कुछ भी चीज़ें हैं, यू नो देयर आर अदर इवेंट्स इन योर लाइफ, यू हैव योर ओन पर्सनल लाइफ, यू हैव योर बॉयफ्रेंड गर्लफ्रेंड, यू नो योर स्पाउस, you can't tend to them if you know you are taking care of someone.
I would say it's not that you entirely cannot do it. It also depends on caregiver के support system में कौन कौन है और वो उस caregiver को कैसे मदद करते हैं. जैसे हम एक बोलते हैं एक पेशेंट की सपोर्ट सिस्टम उनके केयरगिवर्स होते हैं, उनके डॉक्टर्स होते हैं, वैसी केयरगिवर की भी एक सपोर्ट सिस्टम होती है. उसमें कौन है? डू दे हैव अ सपोर्टिव स्पाउस, डू दे हैव सम सपोर्टिव फ्रेंड्स, डू दे हैव सम सपोर्टिव रिलेटिव्स, और से सम वेरी इंक्लूसिव एंड सपोर्टिव कलीग्स. तो अगर ऐसे लोग एक केयरगिवर को सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं, वी नोटिस दैट देन they are able to make time for other aspects of their lives as well.
So basically you are saying ki if the caregiver they have the support system or they can create the support system, then it becomes much easier. So can you talk more about the support system and how you know someone can identify, create the support system for themselves if they are a caregiver?
So I can explain this with an example. I counsel some teenagers who have some or the other developmental challenges. A lot of times along with I counsel them, and I also have separate parent counseling sessions. That time I ask parents about who do they reach out to when they are feeling low or when they just need someone to talk it out to. Now the parents who often tell me that they have one or two friends or some cousins, or the parents who tell me that they are also a part of some support group or they are visiting a counselor, such parents, you will see even their self-efficacy, confidence is much more compared to parents who don't have these avenues, I would say. कुछ नहीं तो some parents tell me that some of their family members are helping them, are sharing some aspects in their schedules. They have divided their schedules in such a way so that the parent can balance between their work responsibilities, caregiving responsibilities, and also take some time for themselves. So such a supportive network does help the caregiver also give their best. One more thing is I would say there are some parents who I've noticed that they have a very realistic expectations of the situation, of what are the child's strengths, where will the child require support, and how can they support the child. So they have a very realistic idea of these things. And even I have realized that having that perspective of reality, that also has helped some parents accept the situation and do better in their caregiving role, I would say.
And you know, when we talk about caregivers, so why is it like, you know, some people they end up becoming a caregiver as compared to others? So a family mein there might be 3 or 4 people, right? But there's one specific person who ends up being the caregiver. Why is that?
A lot of times it could also be due to certain gendered roles, which is a very unfortunate situation, but we've seen this happen many a times, that it's usually the women who become the caregivers. It could be, so one could be, which is a very unfortunate thing, but it could be due to gender roles, because somewhere we are seeing that we have that very nurturing and that kind of mindset, so maybe we are viewed as that. So that could be. And one more reason could be maybe because other people don't have that much of time availability to give to that particular person. So maybe that's why the caregiving responsibilities, as you said, end up on one specific person only. Some caregivers themselves say कि अगर मैं नहीं होता या मैं नहीं होती तो और कौन करता, पता नहीं, तो they only then take up that role. So maybe other family members or other members in their network are not willing to take up the role, but the situation is such that someone needs to be a caregiver, and then it all sort of is, on one person. So that's why.
I think you're right. बहुत बार वैसा ही होता है कि typically it's women who end up taking most of the cases. Of course, there are exceptions, but it's women who end up taking these roles because it's like they know kind of.
We assume that it's going to be them. That we assume that they know and they have always been doing this. So ये उनका काम है. This I know it's a very it's a wrong notion, but this is what we've often been reported to us in therapy settings as well. And the second thing is, अगर मैं नहीं तो कौन? Who else? So it's on me now. That also happens.
Correct. And if there is this situation wherein in a family or in a family setup someone needs caregiving and the person on whom it's falling, they are not up for it. What can they do about it without feeling guilty?
Then I would say look at other sources of care and support. If for any reason you are not able to be there, see if there are any other ways of providing that kind of care and compassion and support.
Because I think बहुत बार actually वैसा होता है कि in this situation you are not even able to say anything. It's like it's put on you.
Yes.
You have to do it, and that person ends up taking the role without even questioning, without even knowing what they're getting into.
Exactly.
And they just have to go with the flow.
So that time I think as counselors we often ask caregivers about what is it that they can actually do for their loved one. Like what specific areas will you support your loved one in? And do you have the time and the emotional availability to do it? And that's how we sort of help them understand what all they can actually do for their loved one and where they would be relying on other sources. So that by other sources, I mean it can be other people or it can be professional help that you hire. Anything. Like that.
And when people come to you in this setup, in counseling setup, so do they actually come up with the issue saying that I'm a caregiver and I have these issues?
No. So usually I'll tell you how it goes. It's usually typically in schools they will request the parent to meet the school counselor. So that's how they sort of come to me. In hospitals or clinical setups, they will tell the family members to sit down with the counselor. So again, that's how I get that referral. So they don't come to me because they feel they need it. They will come to me because teacher ने बोला, doctor ने बोला, या कहीं से तो सुना है, इसीलिए आए हैं. So sometimes they also don't know what exactly is going to happen in the conversation. So that's when we first help them understand that they form an integral part in that individual person's network. And it's somewhere it's my role to ensure that even the patient is cared for and even their people in the network are cared for. So that's when they understand this, then the conversations become easier and more meaningful for them. And one thing that this is something that they also tell me after a couple of conversations is they realize how important it is for them to be mentally and physically fit so that they can do their best in their caregiving responsibilities. So that's when they understand the role of their own mental and physical health, I would say.
And आपके पास कोई example होगा from your own practice of someone coming for you, coming to you and you helping them in the caregiving journey. So what exactly happened? What did you do?
So there are several parents who have reached out to me. Most of them come with, they essentially come to me because of the child's behavioral issues, or the child is undergoing, some anxiety, or if the child is having difficulty transitioning in to the school setup, or something that has happened, say, at school or in the playground or other social setups, and that has created some impact on the child. So that time the parents have reached out to me. So initial couple of sessions, they are more centered around what more can we do for the child. तो उसमें काफ़ी केयर गिवर का एक हम साइको एजुकेशन करते हैं या उनको कोच करते हैं. उसके बाद देयर कम्स अ टाइम ना वेयर they start discussing about how mentally draining it is for them, how difficult it is for them, how that they don't have a space where they can just vent these things out. That's when we sort of gradually tap into their well-being and the emotions that they are experiencing. So that's how usually these things I have noticed. This is how the conversations go in the therapy room. Even I think in case of patients, typically those who have some terminal illness, the initial couple of sessions, they will want to know how can they psychologically support the patient. And they say कि हम तो ठीक है, हम तो एकदम पॉजिटिव माइंड से है, हम पेशेंट के सामने तो कुछ दिखाते भी नहीं हैं. बट आप दिखा नहीं रहे हो, बट आप खुद मे बी कुछ चीज़ें इंटरनलाइज कर रहे हो, या मे बी आप खुद भी बहुत सारी थॉट्स आपके मन में भी आ रहे हैं, बट पता नहीं होता है कि कहाँ जाके ये सारी चीज़ें बोले. सो इवन विद पेशेंट्स यही होता है कि पहले वी टॉक अ लॉट अबाउट द पेशेंट्स एंड देन आफ्टर अ कपल ऑफ सेशंस द केयर गिवर स्टार्ट शेयरिंग देयर ओन स्टोरीज. सो दैट्स हाउ then we start talking about, like I said, their emotions, their mental health. Then that becomes the focus of the sessions. So that's how it is.
That's interesting because typically, like you said, a caregiver is just thinking about one thing, taking care. They're not thinking about anything else.
Exactly. So that's why they always, most of them will ask me कि हमारा ठीक है, आप बताओ उनके लिए क्या कर सकते हैं. So give us some strategies, give us some approaches that we have to use, tell us how to communicate, how not to communicate. So it's first always, initially it's always that individual focused or patient focused, and then gradually it becomes, we sort of again bring in the whole caregiver angle as well. And then the session you have to then have two, I would say, foci during your sessions. One is to help them understand the person's needs, and then also help them understand their own needs.
And while caregiving, आपने क्या notice किया? I mean, what happens within a person? How do they change? And maybe their routines and even psychologically, how do they change and how does it impact other parts of their lives?
So I'll first talk about routines. Depending on whether what the routine involves. If it is going to university or college, if it is going to work, even at home, if you have a routine for yourself. Most caregivers have shared that their routines have somewhat changed because now they have to make time for a particular loved one as well. So some things in the routine get delayed, some things in the routine get eliminated, और some things जो आप मे बी एवरीडे करते थे अभी जस्ट वंस अ वीक कर पा रहे हो, वो भी हो रहा है कि नहीं पता, उसमें भी थोड़ा इनकन्सिस्टेंसी होता है. सो दे सडन चेंजेस इन रूटीन. This also leads to a lot, and even the caregivers take time to process these changes that are happening, right? So that also leads to, I would say, some of them are upset or some of them are feeling very sad about how things have changed. A lot of them say that they're doing it for their loved one or they're doing it for the patient, but they themselves are also grieving this process. They are also undergoing so many changes, I would say. So one is the routine part that gets impacted. Second is psychologically. There are caregivers who shared that earlier they used to have multiple roles or multiple identities, but now it has all come down to being that XYZ person's caregiver. Like a classic example I have seen in hospitals and clinics is patient के साथ जो भी आए हैं ना, हम उनको मे बी ऐसी बात करते हैं, अरे वो पेशेंट के हस्बैंड या वो पेशेंट की डॉटर या वो पेशेंट की बहू. We somewhere even forget to ask them their name. Then when we are taking the registration or the case history or when they are in consultation, we ask them कि आपका नाम क्या है. But otherwise you see they are always known as that person's somebody. So उसमें भी काफ़ी आप देख सकते हो कि उस caregiver की एक identity change हो चुकी है. So that is one thing. Second is change of their priorities. Then is also caregivers also saying that their level of social engagement has reduced because they need to be present for their loved one or the patient. Then they also say that even the financial strain that it puts, that is also enormous, right? So because of that they have to maybe replan जो प्लानिंग की है उसको आपको थोड़ा रीप्लान करना पड़ता है. तो these things are what impact a caregiver, I would say. Yeah.
And in cases wherein it's caregiving for terminally ill,
Yeah.
so what do you typically see happening with caregivers while the patient was there and once they are gone?
Okay, so I'll take this as two parts of a question. First thing is, what do we see when the patient is there? First thing is, most caregivers say that this is something they had not expected. So they are taking a lot of time to process the medical reports and what the doctor has told them. So they are taking a lot of time to do that. Then they realize that that they don't know exactly what to do. Like they understand that they have to be there for the patient. They understand that they have to take care of the patient. But what specific things need to be done is not entirely clear. So a lot of times they will reach out to us and even other medical faculties to understand कि exactly उनको क्या करना है. So that time we explain them with certain examples and we give them some resources to refer to. So then accompanying the person throughout the treatment journey. So person की भी एक treatment journey है, साथ ही साथ caregiver is also a part of that journey. तो अभी वो journey में काफ़ी ups and downs होते हैं. right? Sometimes there are improvements. Sometimes there is a time where there is no improvement. Sometimes there could also be that the symptoms are worsening, or there are some side effects of certain medications and procedures. So because of that, again, the caregivers' mental health and I would say psychological preparedness for everything is getting tested so many times. So they are undergoing that as well. And like I said earlier, their social connect may reduce and their financial stress may also increase. So these are the typical things that we often observe. Now, in case of terminal illness, is the second part of your question of what happens after the person is gone. There is a lot. Sometimes caregivers know that they are going to lose that person. A lot of caregivers will say that they were mentally preparing themselves for it, but when it actually happened, they were not prepared for it, and that is a very common human response. After that, it is about making a new routine for themselves, and making their own new normal, I would say. How to go about that. तो उसके भी challenges होते हैं कि a lot of caregivers say that I spent so many years looking after this particular family member. Now that family member passed away. Now what do I do? It feels like a hollow. Like one patient, and they've given me the consent to share this. One patient said कि आप सोचो एक पेंटिंग है, वो मेरी लाइफ है. Painting is the way it is, very abstract painting. Now when that person passed away ना, वो पेंटिंग में एक white धब्बा हो गया, and that white धब्बा just splattered all over the painting. That is what it feels कि एक पेंटिंग पे एक white धब्बा हो गया. And ये चीज उन्होंने एक सपोर्ट ग्रुप के दौरान बोली थी. And a lot of caregivers resonated with this example, that their life was going in a certain way. And when that event of death happened, when that passing happened, it was suddenly like a blank, a void. Now what? And then slowly helping them identify where they can maybe start building new habits, start building new routines. How can they keep the legacy going of the person who has passed away? Because many caregivers say that we don't want to entirely leave it. We want to take some values and some experiences with us as well. So how can we work on that? How can we take that legacy ahead? How can we craft new routines for ourselves? Now what are our priorities? Because for all these years it was the patient. So now what is my priority? Or now what is my purpose? Or what are the things that give me meaning? तो ये सारी चीजें हमें काफी डिस्कस करनी पड़ती है उनके साथ. It's a very long term process, I would say, to even counsel a caregiver.
हाँ, अब जो बोल रहे हैं वो काफी, I mean anyone can connect to it कि हाँ, जब एक कोई चला जाए जिसके लिए आप इतना केयर कर रहे थे, वो हॉलो आ जाएगा, because you don't know what to do next. It's like आपने कभी उसके beyond सोचा ही नहीं है.
And it's suddenly a void.
Correct. Yeah, and usually, I mean, what have you seen in your clients and your support groups? How do people take that grieving process, and meanwhile understanding कि हमें भी life के साथ अब कुछ करना है?
So this is like for the caregivers who've lost the family member. So initially there is shock, and that's how usually we grieve, right? Like initially there is that element of shock, then slowly we come to terms with it, and then there comes a point where we realize that we need to start some aspects of our daily routine. It could even be just waking up at a certain time, starting with your daily chores for the day, going for that regular market visit, going for that one round in your society or somewhere around. So we sort of recalibrate our brains and our bodies and our minds to this, at least the basic routine. Then comes a time where we are exploring our priorities, because back then our priority was being there for that patient or family member. But now what? So some of them have certain priorities, like they would like to revisit a particular hobby or revisit something that they had to put aside because of their caregiving responsibilities. Some of them gradually start getting back to work. Again, it's a very, very gradual change that happens. Having said that, there are some people who just deep dive into work because they want to avoid certain thoughts and certain emotions that keep visiting them, I would say. I mean, everyone has a different process. So in typically in support groups, everyone is discussing about how they process the loss and what they are doing now. And they learn a lot from each other. So we are just co-facilitating the discussion. The ideas and insights are all from them. And a lot of caregivers who are processing a loss, they find it supportive to be a part of a group like this. It makes them understand that other people are also going through similar experiences. I would not say same, but similar experiences. And they can share with each other and they can learn from each other, I would say. So this is how we've seen these ideas being discussed in support groups. And a lot of caregivers say that they feel lonely. They need a sense of social connectedness. They need that sense of community. So some of them choose to then maybe reconnect with some friends or relatives जिनके साथ तब इतनी बातें या इतना interaction नहीं हो पाता था. So धीरे धीरे they are trying to again reconnect socially as well. But yes, it takes time. And the journey is not always like an upward journey. That journey is actually quite like up and down, up and down, up and down.
And you know, when we are discussing this, there's a question that's coming in my mind. Of course, it's not like 100% related, but like for examples, even you know, nurses, for example, in hospitals, they are in a caregiving role,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And what kind of trainings do they go through that, you know, they become kind of immune to, you know, things happening around, because day in and day out, they also, you know, they are taking care of people.
Yeah.
And, you know, it must be leading to emotional burnout for them as well.
So a lot of, not just nurses, but I would say healthcare professionals, more than training now, they say that this is something they have learned on the job, about how to be their emotional preparedness for such things. A lot of them will share that they have learned these things on the job, through some senior, some colleague, or a mentor. And again, that is not like training. It is just observing and understanding about how other people around you are processing it, and then trying to see if that works for you as well. But now I think in a lot of healthcare organizations, they do give training to their entire staff and team about how to first of all have a grief informed and trauma informed approach when they're interacting with patients and family members. And second thing is, in case of any kind of loss, how can we support each other in ways. So I know a couple of places that run support spaces for their own team members, or some organizations that also have a concept of, I think it's called bereavement leave. I think that's the word, bereavement leaves for their own team members in case they lose either a close family member or if they lose a patient whom they were caring for. So these things are there. Plus, many organizations, like I said, they have their own support groups. Some of their organizations have tie-ups with counselors. So if the staff feel that they require any professional help, they can reach out to those counselors as well.
Interesting. And can something similar be done for, or is being done for, caregivers who are, caring for their families? I mean, especially in cases where we are talking about illnesses.
So there is a lot of work being done in this domain. A lot of spaces now are offering caregivers counseling. They are making caregivers support networks. A lot of times you may have observed that along with counseling the patient, we also hold space for their family members as well. And it's all confidential. Like, we ensure that the information is not being passed from here to there. So I think these initiatives are now slowly coming up. There are these circles, like a book club or something for caregivers, or a cafe experience for caregivers. So these are initiatives which are heavily caregiver focused, I would say. But it is an idea that has tremendous potential. But yes, we need to see more and more of such spaces and such initiatives.
Interesting. And going back to caregiving role. So, I mean, caregiver burnout, it is seen in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah.
So what are usually the warning signs that you see before the actual burnout happens?
Warning signs could be, say, chronic anxiety, increased irritability, increased guilt, and they clouded judgment, where they are not able to, sometimes they say that we again and again keep going blank, or they say that these are too many options to weigh in, we are not able to understand what decision to make. Some of them even tell us about the level of their own forgetfulness has increased, or things that they were interested in previously, they don't find those things interesting now, or things that they found meaning in previously, they are not able to see that same thing now. So these are signs that will help us. These are the initial warning signs, I would say. And a lot of this, again and again, this metaphor keeps coming in during conversations कि खुद के लिए time ही नहीं होता है. Some of them, they'll say it like खुद के लिए time ही नहीं होता है, like they will say it in a very say इतना कुछ करना होता है ना, खुद के लिए time ही नहीं होता है, but that is how it is. So they assume कि खुद के लिए time मिलने वाला नहीं है. So ये चीज़ भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा देखने मिलती है when it comes to caregivers. Or they will also tell us about पहले हमारी life बहुत ही अलग थी, अभी life काफ़ी change हो गई है, हमें नहीं पता वो पहले जैसी life हम वापस जी पाएंगे कि नहीं ये सब होने के बाद. So these questions keep popping up again and again. So then, as counselors, we have to understand how we can address these questions.
And how does it impact caregivers' sleep and overall health in terms of this caregiving role that they have?
Some of them say that there is delayed sleep, right? Delayed sleep onset. So रात को हम एक टाइम पे हम बेड बिस्तर वैसा बनाते हैं, वी आर इन द बेड, बट नींद नहीं आ रही. तो आप क्या कर रहे हो? मे बी आप फ़ोन पे स्क्रॉल कर रहे हो, या मे बी आप बस मन में ख्याल आ रहे हैं. सम केयर गिवर से कि ऐसे टाइम पे हम डीप ब्रीदिंग वगैरह करते हैं, बट इतना इफेक्टिव नहीं होता. बस मन में बहुत टेंशन आता रहता है कि कल का दिन क्या होगा, या आगे की लाइफ कैसी होगी, पेशेंट की भी और हमारी भी. So first is delayed onset. Second is increased sleep disturbances. That is there. Then some of them feel that they haven't slept enough. So even when a lot of them will say that even if they get a 6 to 7 hours sleep, even after that, they will feel exhausted when they wake up. So such kind of issues regarding sleep are noted. Then regarding their diet and everything, they say, most of them tell us that पहले तो उनका खाने पीने का ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, फिर जब हमें टाइम मिलता है तब हम हमारा खाना और वो सब देखते हैं. सो काफ़ी लगता है उस टाइम पे that are they even neglecting their own dietary needs. Lot of them say कि हमारा खुद का लंच या डिनर जो भी है डिले हो जाता है. And not just on one day, this is routine, every day, most of the days that this happens. So those are certain changes that the caregivers only share about their lives. Then coming to their like physical activity or their routine to go outdoors, that has also changed because they have to sort of revise their routine as per the patient's needs. तो उधर भी काफ़ी changes होते हैं. And a lot of them feel dissatisfied due to these changes in their sleep, nutrition, routine, priorities and various aspects in their life. They do feel dissatisfied, but they don't know what to do about it. Because they feel कि ये ऐसा ही तो होता है, ऐसा ही होने वाला है. So then as counselors, we help them understand that is there someone else who can help you with these things, or if someone else can take up some of these caregiving responsibilities, will it reduce the burden that you are going through currently? Like a very simple thing, if someone is ready to look after your family member, say for 45 minutes or something, that time maybe you can utilize the time to have your meal or to get some other work done, or utilize that time for some self-care activity or some physical activity. So if there is someone who can step in for a little time also to reduce your burden, then that is helpful.
True. And what can the family members of a caregiver do? Other family members, not the one who needs care. Other family members do to make situation for caregiver better.
One thing that is helpful is divide some tasks among yourselves. Among family members. So there's a patient, there's a primary caregiver. Now the primary caregiver, I agree, they would be doing most of the major tasks. But if there are some tasks that can be taken over by other family members, then that could be helpful. Or there are caregivers who say that I have certain family members and relatives whom I can reach out to at any given point of time. Now I know this is a very privileged thing for these days, but if you have someone like that, please reach out to them. Also, a lot of times we tell the caregiver, please take care. But I think even family members or even extended people, people in their social circles, instead of just saying, hey, take care, I'm always a call or text away. This is something we normally say, right, to each other. But actually show that in your practice. A lot of times caregivers say कि even someone's presence matters. It could be a hospital visit. The patient has come with their caregiver. Sometimes there is one more person who is accompanying. Caregiver के friend होते हैं या कोई और relative होता है. That time you should see how you will see how I think mentally at peace they are. There's someone else who is there. That even being present basically matters. Like that's why I gave this example. Just your presence matters. Asking the caregiver, how are you doing? That itself is we are giving them that opportunity to put forth their point of view, to put forth their narrative. Or how are you holding up after a very, very, I would say, traumatic event? Asking them, how are you doing? Is that also, I think, is very, very important.
And like for caregivers, how can they maintain healthy boundaries with the patient, with other family members, and take care of themselves?
Here we'll have to explore the idea about what does self-care or self-compassion mean to them first. Then we'll have to explore certain routines or certain tasks that they can actually and realistically do in their daily lives. And why I'm saying actually and realistically do is sometimes we do suggest some ideas, but when they go home, again, they are so burdened by the other responsibilities कि उनको वापस खुद के लिए वो time नहीं मिलता. So again, helping first is to understand the caregiver's routine, the caregiver's responsibilities. So you should have that level of rapport with the caregiver first. And the caregiver also should be comfortable sharing these very nuanced aspects with you as a counselor. And then helping them understand where that they can make that little bit of time for themselves or for the tasks that they have prioritized other than the caregiving tasks. Like this is something we read, right? Like you should always spare 5 to 10 minutes in the day for yourself. This, correct. Right? We read this, we hear this on podcasts and on social media and everything. But sometimes for caregivers, when we discuss this idea, the first thing is, ये हम कैसे करें? हमें ऐसे थोड़ी चलता है, ऐसे 5-10 मिनट ऐसे हम कैसे कर सकते हैं? But over time, when you realistically make them understand that it is not about those 5-10 minutes, it is actually about just taking some time off to focus on your own needs and your other priorities. This helps them. And then slowly, they only start integrating it in their routine. So it could start as something that maybe they do once a week. They slowly, gradually understand the benefits of that particular task or that particular ritual. Then they see if there are ways that they can improve on this. And slowly, they also then come up with their own way of taking care of themselves. But it's a very, very gradual process. Yes, it's very challenging to identify those pockets where we can try this. But the ones who are able to do it, you will see that even they feel more, I would say, they are quite at peace. They are very confident of themselves. And they also feel mentally ready to take up the caregiving role.
So basically you're saying if they take care of themselves,
yes,
then they are doing, in a way, the job much better of caregiving?
Yeah, exactly.
So if they are just doing it for others, in the end they are burning out themselves and not really doing, the best for the patient as well. But if they take care of themselves,
yes,
then probably they are doing best
they
for the
probably
patient as
will
well.
do better for the patient as well.
And that sounds very counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like if there's a patient, you just keep doing for them and it will be better.
Yes.
But in this situation, if you do things for yourself, you are taking some time for yourself, which makes you happy, and then you do it for others.
Like a lot of caregivers say that we are not giving our 100%, we are giving our 110%. Yes, I understand that you're giving your best and you're trying to do more and more better for the patient. But what about yourself? What is happening to you, your body and your mind, when you are out there giving your 100 and 110% to the patient? What is happening on your side? That is something we then explore during counseling sessions.
True. That's very interesting.
Most of them are so when this idea gets discussed, right, about what you're doing for yourself, when you are when they say that we are giving more than 100% for our patients, and then when we ask them what are you doing for yourself, it often it's a question that maybe catches them a little off guard. They are not prepared for it. So that's when we tell them that this is something you may not have the answer to this question right now. It's absolutely okay. But it is something that if you're okay, we can discuss it in our upcoming sessions as well. So we give them a little bit of time also to understand what they are going through when they are being caregivers.
Interesting. And I'll give you different situations of caregiving, and I would like to know, from your experience on how they can take care of themselves, they can make the situation better. So first example would be parents who have to take care of children with special needs. So what would be your suggestion? I mean, what do you typically see in the parents? What kind of psychological behaviors you see in them, and then what would be your suggestions to them?
So children with special needs is first of all to help them understand the child's developmental level and the child's capabilities and the child's strengths, is to first help them understand this. If there is an issue that, say, it has a genetic etiology, if there is a certain issue that is going to impact the child throughout their life, so first is to psychoeducate them about the situation and a little bit of psychoeducation about what lies ahead, because parents have a very futuristic approach ना कि आगे क्या होगा. तो पहले तो एक situation की एक idea देनी पड़ती है. उसके बाद ensuring that both parents are on the same page. So even in a lot of cases, one parent is more of a caregiver and the other parent does not take too many responsibilities, but they are aware and updated about what is happening. This is the kind of dynamic we usually see, right? So helping the parents understand what each of them can do for the child, and what each of them can also do to take care of themselves. A very simple thing is maybe now with a child with special needs, right? Suppose if you have to take your child out for a outing or a trip, as parents, how will you divide the responsibilities amongst yourselves? Or if the child has a meltdown, as parents, what will be your plan of action to handle that meltdown? Plus, as parents, exploring what their strengths are, exploring what they are actually good at also helps us tap into these things. And where one parent can maybe, so if one parent is choosing to take up some time for themselves, how can the other parent be available for the child at that time? So we need to sit down and discuss these things with the parents. So here we need to know what is the situation like, what concerns the child is experiencing, the nature of these concerns. As parents, what are their strengths? What are their areas that they can collaborate, and how will they find time for themselves in this whole thing? So these are various factors that I would say we have to take into consideration when we're talking about a child with special needs.
And also, I mean, with a child with special needs, it's maybe initially you always are comparing to normal children, right?
Yes, that does happen. That does happen.
Yeah. So how can parents, discuss on that or take care of that? That yeah, our kid is with special needs and not one with
Yeah.
is normal,
Yeah.
and they will have different set of needs, and
yeah.
even for us, we have a
Exactly.
different kind of parenting. For
So
them.
I would say their developmental trajectory is going to be different. I mean, it's different for each child. अगर आप स्पेशल चिल्ड्रन ऐसे भी बोलो ना, तो उसमें भी हर एक बच्चे का डिफरेंट डिफरेंट डेवलपमेंट एंड ग्रोथ ट्रेजेक्टरी होता है. सो फॉर पेरेंट्स हु compare their child with a neurotypical or a normal child, see, that comparison is, that thought is going to come in your mind. So first of all, please understand that this is something, it may come to your mind again and again. So simply saying ki don't compare is not going to work. One helpful tip I tell them is maybe compare to what your child was previously to what he is today, and then understand what he or she can do in the future. That is a healthier comparison, because then you are honoring the child's needs, you're honoring the fact that the child is developing at his or her pace, and we are also thinking about what more can we do now for the child. So I think that is the way I would help parents who have children with special needs and compare them with the so-called, I would say, normal children.
And coming to the second situation, so if someone is caring for their spouse, then how do you see their psychological behavior, and what can they do about this entire situation?
The ones who are caring for their spouses, first it's important to understand what is the context here. Is it, say, is it an illness that the spouse will recover from over time? Is it a long-term condition? Is it a terminal illness? Has the particular event led to, say, some sort of disability, or some things like the person was earlier able to do it but not able to do now? So these are many factors that first we need to understand. Now for spouse who are caregivers, they often tell, majority of the time, one thing that we hear is that sudden change of identity, that yes, I am that XYZ person's husband or wife, jo bhi hai, but now it's like he's a patient, I am the caregiver. So kahin na kahin wo the nature of their relationship starts to change, and they are feeling they're feeling that brunt of it now. So for spouses, we ask them if there are any shared activities, ऐसी कोई common activities जो आप दोनों अभी भी एक साथ कर सकते हो. Again, there should be activities that should have some level of interest and meaning for them. So we start exploring these things. Then for spouses, we also ask them that for some time, is there someone else who can just look after the patient while you focus on other things, like other priorities? So we ask them if that is possible. If that is possible, then they can go ahead with it. One more thing for spouse is we understand what are their strengths, or like what are their strengths, or actually we explore the core values of the couple. What are the core values of this couple, and how can we still maintain those values while the couple is navigating through this journey? So we sometimes take individual sessions, sometimes they want the session to be together where we then discuss these things. Then is also maybe style of communication. We see whether the style of communication between the spouses has changed. What do they feel about this? And if there is a way we can work on that as well. Because day-to-day routine में तो इतनी communication होती ही है. And now due to caregiving responsibilities, the style of communication also changes. Then sometimes you also need to work on how do they manage disagreements between each other. We need to first understand how would they do it previously and what they can do now. So these are the kind of things that we need to look into, I think.
And third situation would be children taking care of their elderly parents. So how do you see the situation for this particular case?
Children taking care of elderly parents, I think this is a case where ना ऐसे role reversal हो रहा है. First, initially the parents were taking care of the child, and the child grew up, started made a certain living for himself or herself, and now there comes a time where that child has to then take care of the elderly parents. First is understanding whether they were psychologically prepared for this. We have to also understand from the parents about whether they were also psychologically prepared for the fact that their children would be looking after them. Sometimes some elderly parents may find it very challenging to accept that they need help and now their children are helping them. ये काफी difficult idea होती है कुछ parents को digest करने के लिए. The way usually we go about it would be to either have, say, a discussion with the entire family if they are willing. If they are not willing, then sitting down with the children and trying to identify how they can actually be that caregiver for their parents. Here also we need to understand whether the child is staying with the parents, like in the same house, or are they staying in the same city, or are they staying in somewhere far. So कितना involvement हो सकता है. प्लस जो इन्वॉल्वमेंट है उस टाइम पे आप एग्जैक्टली क्या क्या कर सकते हो. अगर आपके पेरेंट्स एजिंग हैं, इफ दे हैव एनी हेल्थ कंडीशंस, तो मेडिकली एंड हेल्थ रिलेटेड आपको किन किन चीज़ों का ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा. तो वैसा भी उनके साथ बैठ के डिस्कस करना पड़ता है. प्लस आपकी पेरेंट्स की रूटीन क्या है, आपकी रूटीन क्या है, इसमें से कहाँ पे हम थोड़े कोलैबोरेशन का सोच सकते हैं या केयर या सपोर्ट का सोच सकते हैं, वो भी हमें आई वुड से देखना पड़ता है. एंड देन अगेन if that child, if they have a partner, then we have to also see whether the partner is willing to to also be a part of this network. So we also need to tap into that. Actually it happens that in course of the sessions, even that person's partner becomes a part of our support network. So we also need to see what they can do. काफी I would say multi faceted this is an area, especially when it's a child who is looking like a child who is now grown up looking after their parents who are growing old. Yes.
So from your practice, do you have any example that you would like to share of this situation?
There are a few examples that popped into my mind, but one example was that when we had sat down with one couple and helped them understand the priorities, help them understand what their priorities are, and help them also understand what could be their parents' priorities. Because हम उनसे छोटे हैं, हमारी जनरेशन अलग है, ऑफ कोर्स हमारे प्रायोरिटीज अलग है, हमारा लेवल ऑफ इनकम अलग होने वाला है, many things that are different from elderly parents, right? So first is we help them understand what the differences in the priorities are, and that sort of led them to develop their own ways of how they can care for their parents. So I think that was a very insightful couple of sessions for me, where we just focused on एक दूसरे के priorities फिलहाल क्या है and how can we make it work. So priorities के through हमने reality of situation क्या है इस पर भी हमने focus किया, या priorities के through हमने focus किया कि हर एक की need क्या है, इसीलिए तो हम वो चीज़ को prioritize कर रहे हैं, right? तो ये ऐसे काफ़ी I would say interesting discussions हुए हमारे, and eventually yes, we did improve on their communication patterns within the family itself. We did discuss about what is the time availability that the child will have for the parents, or when we say that the child wanted to be emotionally available for their parent, what did that emotional availability mean? Because emotional availability is a
Very
big
broad
term,
term,
very
yeah.
broad term. It includes many things. So what it means to be actually emotionally available for their parents. Then there was a time where even I had asked the parents that a lot of people here are ready to support you, okay, but are you actually feeling supported right now? A lot of people are ready to do whatever it takes for you, but what is it that you actually want right now? So even co-facilitating such conversations has helped.
Interesting. And you know, the couple that you were talking about who were taking care of their elderly parent, what did they exactly come to you for? I mean, did they come with the same situation that, you know, we have an elderly parent and we have to take care of themselves, or was it something else?
So the couple had reached out to me that they are having a lot of disagreements with their elderly parents, and what can we do? So that was the main reason that they had reached out to me. And so the parents were also, I mean, they were aging, but they also had some health issues which were complicating the whole situation. So that was why they had actually reached out to me of how they can address these disagreements that are happening with the parents. And the main thing that they said was that we understand why these things are happening, but what can we do now? Help us with that. So I think from their end also, they were quite open to new ideas and new suggestions. They were willing to try, and I think they always gave me very, very honest feedback about whether things are improving or not. So that also helped me sort of enable them to navigate through this journey. Yeah.
Interesting. And you know, I would like to know what advice would you give to caregivers who right now are feeling overwhelmed with the entire caregiving responsibility that they have?
One advice, that this is something I tell to everyone, is think about the way you are there for that person. Who is there for you? First, just think about that. And it's not a question that you can just answer instantly. So take your time. Just sit with this question first for some time. Identify who is there for you. उससे आपको मालूम पड़ेगा कि आपका सपोर्ट सिस्टम कौन है. प्लस इफ यू फील एट एनी पॉइंट दैट यू नीड प्रोफेशनल हेल्प, आई वुड से प्लीज डू रीच आउट. Now there are several counselors who are willing to provide professional help for the concerns that caregivers experience. We do use different modalities depending on our training and what the person is going through, but there are spaces of support. One more thing that I have found incredibly helpful quite recently is the power of support groups. Most of the times these support groups are being run by community or clinical facilities. Now they are extending the idea of support groups to, like, support groups for caregivers. These are not all of them meet in person. Some of them are even conducted online. But the people who are a part of these support groups, they quite often share how supported they feel, that they feel heard. They feel कि कोई तो मुझे यहाँ पे समझ पा रहा है. And some of them are not looking for solutions. They are just looking for someone or some space where they can just talk it out and they feel heard and they feel understood. They're just looking for that. So if there is a chance that you can be a part of such support communities, then go for it and see if that works for you. And I think now, due to technology, a lot of these things are being done online. So such initiatives are also reaching to a wider audience.
That's interesting. And my last question to you would be, in caregiving space and to help caregivers, is there any new kind of technology that's coming up? Anything to look forward to?
In terms of tech, see, one thing is these online support circles that are running. Second is there are a lot of apps which are which are helping with things like mindfulness, meditation, journaling. Then there are these self-care timers that you can put. Regarding the apps, it's difficult to understand their authenticity from the psychological point of view. But in future, if these things are more evidence informed and if they are more culturally sensitive, then it could be a great tool, I think. Then are simple apps that help us keep those timers. So suppose if we have, as caregivers, if we have decided that we are going to avoid screens before bed, then there are these apps, like App Lock or those timers that we can set for ourselves, where we say, okay, once the timer is there, then no screens before, no screens after that. For caregivers, one thing is there that a lot of them say that they are overwhelmed with information, right? Information regarding the patient's condition, information regarding what more they can do, because they read so much online, they come across so much data, data and information. So if there is some way that you can put filters on the kind of information or data that you are seeing, even that is a very good use of tech, because we really need to maybe start budgeting or maybe put boundaries on the information that we are seeking as taking in as caregivers, I feel. So बहुत सारे apps पे पता है वो एक option है that you are not interested in a particular content. Use that. At least that way you're bringing down the information overload that happens. I think these are some ways, but there could be many other ways also that technology could be helping caregivers. But these are the most common ways that caregivers have also shared that they do. Like some caregivers may say that they avoid following certain handles or handles on YouTube or Instagram or any other social media platform. They actually actively avoid it because it leads to a lot of feeling of overwhelm and disappointment. तो ऐसे अगर कुछ आप कर सकते हो खुद के लिए तो start.
Interesting. And that brings to the end of the conversation, and it has been an amazing conversation throughout. We've learned a lot about caregiving burden, compassion, fatigue. What can they do? How can caregivers look for support for themselves? How can they take care of themselves so that they can actually do their role better? And it has helped me a lot to understand everything. I hope, it has helped our audience as well. Thank you so much, Shreya.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.